And it got extremely, what's the word I'm looking for? Extremely interesting in terms of all of this stuff when Dick Parks wound up committing suicide. Dick Parks was the man who arranged for the prostitutes for Dan Delp. Dick Parks had a special relationship with the district attorney's office at the time.
What do you mean by that?
Great buddies. We had always heard, we had heard from at least one prostitute that Dick Parks used to flash a badge that showed he worked for the district attorney's office. He worked with them in various areas. He was also a private investigator at the time. Stan Rebert himself showed up at the day at which Dick Parks applied before the court to get his private investigative license, and Rebert spoke in his behalf. He supposedly was good friends with Bill Graff. They golfed together. Bill Graff was the assistant DA in charge of all the drug investigations. He was also a private investigator for the Anstein law firm and handled various things. And apparently he had somewhat of an interesting past, although we never really got into that particular level. But I can remember talking to people about Dick Parks, and one of the things that I was told at that time was that he used to make the collections of the poker machines, okay, and run the collections down to the city of Chester, which made sense to me, coming out of Delaware County and the mob influence down in the city of Chester itself and what was going on down there, and the fact with Ernie Priate and the poker machines and the former mayor of Chester going to jail and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it sounded plausible that it could very well be that would be the case, and the time frame fit and all that stuff. So Dick Parks was this guy, and what we found out later was that Dick Parks was pissed because Dan didn't pay the prostitutes enough money. And I can't remember the dollar amount, but it really wasn't much. And one of the girls called Parks to complain, and then Parks called Delp. And apparently Parks recorded the conversation illegally. But that's what the reporter from the Harrisburg Patriot had. Parks went to him. Actually, Parks went to Kostopoulos' firm.
Okay.
I don't know what the direct link was there, but there was a link. Anyway, so Parks goes to Kostopoulos. He gets interviewed by his private eye, Galkenauer. As it turns out later, Galkenauer tells me he interviewed him for about 11 hours. And they checked around, and they felt that they didn't necessarily want to represent Dick Parks in this case. Parks knew something was coming down, that he was going to get arrested, or something was going to happen. So he was taking a preemptive strike. However, what they did was they put him in touch with the reporter. Was it Pete something?
Shellum?
Yeah, that's who it was. Pete Shellum from the Patriot. And he gave him a copy of the tape, so that he had in possession this tape that he had made of his conversation with Delp.
Okay.
And that was the basis of their story and their information.
Okay.
All of this is coming later. Anyway, Parks ups and commits suicide. Shoots himself in the head. He commits suicide in his backyard. Shoots himself in the head with a gun. And leaves a note to his family. We find out about it in the weirdest way. we get a police report faxed over to us from the Northern Regional Police Department about a shooting in I guess it was Manchester Township was where he lived. He lived out by the golf course. And the clerk didn't do anything with it, but Mark Scalfaro wandered by and saw it and saw the name Dick Parks. And I can still remember him running down and coming into my office saying, Dick Parks committed suicide. Well, we held the press that day because that was a significant piece of information in the whole Delp thing. He was the one real link that they had to Delp that tied into other areas. And it was always the feeling at that time was that they, this mysterious they, wanted to stop the investigation as to what was going on. And that Parks was the fish in the pond that if he got eliminated, it wouldn't go any further.
Now, did this lead to some type, or did somewhere in this process, did the concept of a sex club develop or surface?
Yes, the not Renaissance Club, the Reciprocity Club. Yes, the Reciprocity Club surfaced. There was, when we got into the prostitutes, we started looking at all their arrest records and what was going on. And out of this, additional names would surface all the time. And then we would go and try to track down those additional names. One of the processes of investigative reporting is that...
Where did you develop that name, the Reciprocity Club? Or what was your source on that, or if you remember?
I can't remember for sure, but it could have even came out of the deposition of the prostitute.
Okay.
Or it could have came out of interviews with other prostitutes. But it surfaced somehow from there. And then it surfaced again there was an incident involving a prostitute or a couple of prostitutes, two prostitutes, in which the DA's office conducted a raid. They set it up in a motel room, and I'd have to go back and look at all the documentation again. We laid it out in stories at the time, in which they were hiding in the closet. There was an overture made to conduct sex, and the DA's office then made the arrest along with, it may have been state police at the time, I can't remember again for sure. But anyway, they made an arrest of two prostitutes, and one of the prostitutes, what came out of this was, oh, I know what happened, I know why that occurred, because Dick Parks was ticked off because another guy, Kowalczyk, had used one of his girls, one of his prostitutes, and they wanted to get this girl and Kowalczyk in return. And so they set it up and they conducted the raid, they made the arrest, and they arrested both girls and Kowalczyk. But they screwed up. The wrong girl apparently showed up. So when they get to the DJ's office for the preliminary hearing, all the charges get dropped against her because she wasn't the right girl.
Okay.
So now they've got the other girl, they got Kowalczyk arrested, and we've got more documentation. And now we got Kowalczyk. And he agrees to talk to us.